The board of Warpstock Corporation would like to thank everyone for coming out. This has been the best attended Warpstock in several years during our live annual board meeting, because we have board meetings every month. We only have one live board meeting. I actually looked last night, and we have more attendees this year than going back to at least 2013. So that's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing. I will tell you from one of the guys who, I mean, all of us contribute to organizing this little love fest. It is the same amount of work to organize one of these for 10 people as it is for 100 people. The difference is when you do it for 10 people, you ask yourself, why am I doing this for 10 people? When you do it for 30 people, it's not, you don't really ask yourself that question. So it would be really nice if next year we could top this year's attendance. And I know that part of the onus of that is on us to hold a Warpstock event in a location that's desirable and affordable for everyone. So as I go through the closing slides, we'll talk a little bit more about what we might do next year for Warpstock. This is, again, John's presentation. So he did the slides, and, if someone else is going to do the work, I'm very happy to just go with the flow. As I said. And Martin, I fixed your name. I didn't put the accent in. I'm sorry. It's easier for me to do that in an email than it is to do it in open office. But that was just a quick fix. We would appreciate feedback on the event. We always appreciate feedback on the event because without good suggestions, we can't get any better. Again, if it's a problem for you and we don't know about it, it's not a problem. Jeff said to me that what he thought we needed was better sound reinforcement, especially for the back rows, and we should have a microphone with some amplification. We haven't done that in recent years because, again, when you're down to 10 people in the room, now that we've had 30 people in the room, it's been a little bit different. So that's definitely a suggestion that's going into the book for the next one. We used to use sound reinforcement. It just became a non-issue at a certain point when the group in the room shrank and we weren't filling the back row. Please let us know what you found most interesting in the sessions. And where you'd like us to spend some time during the sessions. Many of us presenting or potentially presenting could talk about a wide range of stuff. I mean, all of you know me, know that I could just talk all day long. There's so much stuff that let me tell you something. Working on Arca OS is the single largest project I have ever done. And when we started, it was insurmountably large. There are so many facets to an entire operating system distribution, from the trivial and mundane, as in, we left that option off of that command in the auto exec bat that we ship. How can we make that better? Trivial and mundane stuff, to it crashed when I put the disk in, okay? Huge. And all that stuff, those are great war stories to share, and I would love to share some of that stuff. But we need to prioritize what we do at Warpstock. So you need to tell us what is really of value to you when you come to a Warpstock event. Robert.
Spare T43 parts?
Spare T43 parts. I would love to talk about spare T43 parts. I'll bring my collection. That goes along with the next bullet point. What would you like to see at a future event? General comments about the event, such as, I can't hear anything in the back row. And feel free to talk to any of us directors. You know, I'm a director. Neil, Andy, Martin, and John, of course, who's here with us. He's here with us. Or you can email John directly at president@warpstock.org. He does get all of those emails, and he does read them, and he does share them with the rest of the board. So, John wrote this before our discussion at last night's meeting. And when you think about Warpstock in the abstract, you think the numbers have declined significantly. In 1998, Warpstock Chicago had over 400 attendees. In 1999, Warpstock Atlanta was in the Atlanta Convention Center. And I don't remember specifically the number of attendees, but we had 4 session rooms going. I wasn't on the board at the time. There were 4 session rooms going. There was a huge exhibit hall going. In Warpstock Hershey in 2005, which was the first Warpstock with which I had any involvement, Edgar Scruton and I were co-chairs of that event. We had 80 some odd attendees and a couple of different rooms going. And we had display tables. Rexla was there with us with a table. It's contracted considerably since those days. So in the abstract, you think, well, yeah, we didn't get 400 people. Okay, what live event does? Gaming events do, but when you go beyond that particular vertical market, groups like ours really don't get that many people traveling. Travel's expensive, hotels are expensive, food's expensive, so on and so forth. But when we actually got down to the nitty-gritty of it last night, and I started going back over the years and looking at the annual event reports, we really did have more people this year. And I went back to 2013. I didn't go back beyond 2013. But we had more people this year by far than going back to 2013. As in a third again as many people. So it was really very well attended. I have no doubt that in some form or fashion we will have a Warpstock event next year. We're just figuring out how and where we're going to do that. It turns out that travel from Canada to Orlando is considerably more expensive this year than in 2016. Gordon, was it more expensive for you?
I don't know. I don't pay any attention to the money. I would still come if the whole package was twice as much.
There we go. That's the spirit.
That's the dedication.
So we need to find a good location for everyone. You know, last year we were in Calgary, Alberta, and we didn't get a lot of people who went there. I know that I got on the plane in New York, dressed for New York weather, and I got off the plane in Alberta and I froze. And I thought, why didn't I bring a jacket? I knew what the temperature was going to be. We didn't have that many people. We had one almost local Canadian make the trip from central Canada to Alberta. So, and a lot of times it's difficult for us to figure what's going to be a good location for the event. This is the first time ever that we've been back to exactly the same hotel. And we did better this time around than 2016 in the same hotel. I'm not a really warm weather guy, but I have to tell you, after a little cold snap up north, man, Florida in November, I can do that. Florida in July, that's not my thing. So we're figuring that out. We're looking at options. We're looking at possibly coordinating with the Rexla organization. They hold an annual event at an IBM facility here in the States one year, and then in the UK or mainland Europe in the alternate year. But there are some difficulties. We haven't approached them yet about it, really. Their schedule is different than ours. They do a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday.
Well, primary Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Sundays for like late check-in and that kind of stuff.
So, whether they want to adapt to our schedule, I don't know. I don't think that any of us were really seriously considering shifting to Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday for a.
Well, for someone that matters, someone doesn't. It really depends on the individual.
Yeah, exactly. But it would be a departure for us.
Hey,
Matt.
back when we did Warpstock in Phoenix, 2000, I think,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
they had the Rex meeting sort of semi in conjunction at that time.
Ah,
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So we're going to explore that avenue. We're going to explore, I don't know, maybe doing another one in Florida here next year, or maybe doing, looking at Vegas again, looking at New Orleans. A lot of places you immediately dismiss because you think it's going to be too expensive. Other places you don't immediately dismiss, and maybe you should immediately dismiss. A lot of times, it's a tricky thing because someplace it's affordable in the off season is unaffordable in season, and you need to figure out, well, for that place, what's the season? But we're working on it. We're working on it. Watch the Warpstock website. As soon as we have something going, we'll make it available. If you've got suggestions, Jeff, please.
To ask people. We were never asked.
We ask every year, and you tell us every year. You want us to go to Boston.
No, that was about, do you have a venue? I don't recall seeing a question coming out. If it were in this city, would you come? If we're in that city, would you come?
We've had polls on the Warpstock website before. If Warpstock were held in the Northeast United States, how many would you attend?
Yeah.
In the Southeast, would you attend? So on and so forth.
It's never been around New York, for example. There must be
No, because it's too expensive. Do you know what hotels are in Manhattan? And then if we put people out on the island, closer to me, I've sort of shied away from that because, that means that I have to tell the missus, we're going to have company tonight.
There's a place in New York that's inexpensive. I've stayed there many times. It's the Holiday Inn at Fort Hamilton.
How far is that from the airport?
Well, from JFK, it's not far. 'Cause
You
Fort
just take the
Hamilton's-
subway.
Yeah, Fort Hamilton's right there.
Yeah, I paid $125 a night there. That's in Brooklyn, a very
Brooklyn.
interesting area of Brooklyn.
Yes.
There's a beautiful club right next door. You could organize the meals there.
Okay.
What's a subway?
I'll add that one. I'll add Brooklyn to the mix. Okay. I mean, seriously.
Fort Hamilton.
Please send suggestions for venues. If you know of reasonably priced hotels in an area that you think would be attractive, definitely send us suggestions. It's nice to get several locals to come, so that not everyone is paying the airfare to fly in and stay at the hotel.
You could have an interesting social if you stayed in Brooklyn. You can go to the Botanical Museum. You can go to Coney Island. There's just all kinds of things around there.
Have you been to Coney Island recently?
For the first time in my life, I went to Coney Island.
Really? When?
Maybe it was in May or something like that.
Yeah.
Really? So just recently you went to Coney Island?
Yes.
Kind of revamped
Yeah, it's
now.
fascinating. A lot of
Yeah, I
things
know.
are gone,
I
but
know.
A lot of
Is
things
The
are still
wild
there.
mouse still there?
Huh?
The wild mouse still there?
I didn't hear about a wild mouse.
Anyway, suggestions are welcome, and they are all considered. They're all seriously considered. I mean, now the more information you provide us, the more seriously we can consider the suggestion. So just throwing out the name of a city is going to say, well, what do you think? But if you do some legwork first and say, look, I found these 3 hotels that can host an event of our size, roughly, somewhere from 25 to 50 people, within so many miles of the airport, and each of these hotels provides an airport shuttle, and make a case we're definitely interested in looking at going other places. As you know, Warpstock has always been a traveling, we've always been a road show. So we're happy to go to somewhere else where we haven't been. Give us a compelling reason to do that, and we'll consider it. Okay? And send your suggestions to John, and then he'll bother us. He'll tell us, and we'll discuss them and see what we can come up with.
In terms of polls, we should really probably coordinate with Martin, especially since he's on the board now, because OS2 World has a bigger readership than Warpstock Board does.
That's
Day
true.
in, day
We
out.
could put a poll. We could put a poll there.
So we'll get better
Sure.
arguments too.
There's no problem
Hmm?
with that.
We'll get better arguments too.
Yes, we'll get more arguments.
Quantity and quality.
As a reminder, hotel checkout time 12 p.m. and it is now past 12 p.m.
But hopefully
So if you
everybody
didn't
can
check
vote.
out, you're in trouble.
If your room's empty, you're fine. They didn't even give me a bill.
Well, if they didn't give you a bill, that's even better.
Yeah.
Skip
Well, I'm
town.
special.
There you go.
Well, the printer was out of paper.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I wonder how that happened.
I hope anyone who needed a shuttle to the airport made arrangements for that. Do we have any more final thoughts before we do? Drum roll, please.
The OS2 paraphernalia?
Yes.
Take it away, please.
As mentioned before, we had all of this collection from David Richard. Please sift through and take what you can take what you can carry. Take what is of interest to you. That's the most important thing for collections like this, is that this material goes to a good home and is put to good use. So please do that. We do have 2 items to raffle off today. We have the large Warpstock event mug. It is a ceramic mug. It is made in China.
I figured it was a trick question, so I didn't want to say China.
We have
New York.
the trucker hat, which is a lovely
Is that the
black
Make
and white
Warpstock
design.
Great Again hat?
What's that?
Is that the Make Warpstock Great Again hat?
Yeah.
It's the Make Warpstock Great Again hat,
It's already
That would be
great.
funny.
Oh, yeah.
and it is made in
China.
China.
Did you pay the tariffs?
It's possible. If we did, they were built into the price and they weren't listed separately. So, these items, by the way, are also available on the in the Warpstock Cafe Press store. So if you go to the Warpstock homepage, there's a link to our Cafe Press store. There are other things you can get. Gordon is modeling the Warpstock event golf shirt today. Thank you very much, Gordon. There's a Robert has a Warpstock hat.
Ultimate color.
There
Color
is
that one.
well, see, this is the trucker hat, and that's they call that hat something else.
The other one.
The other one. The non-trucker hat. There is some money that does get donated to Warpstock with every purchase from the store. And the more money that Warpstock takes in donations, Warpstock, remember, is a real 501c3 charity in the United States.
There's also a way to donate with your Amazon purchase to Warpstock using Smile.
If you go to smile.amazon.com, when you do your shopping, you can select Warpstock as your charity of choice, and then something that you purchase from Amazon will go to Warpstock.
It doesn't cost anything else.
It costs you nothing out of pocket, nothing at all. So
That should show up in the Voice News.
that should show up
Yes, I know
in the Voice News,
It
and
has, it has in the past.
it has.
Yeah, but it's like everything else. Marketing is repetition.
Yeah. Yeah.
We need to remind people. So, we are raffling off these 2 spectacular items today only. What we would like you to do,
Must be present to qualify.
must be present to qualify, take your name badge out and put your insert in the hat.
Give you back the name badge.
I will pass this to you first, and you can pass the hat around.
How do you get it out of it? Just throw the whole thing in.
You gotta
You have
squeeze
to
the
take
sides.
You have to take the clip off.
You have to take the clip off.
You have to take the clip off, squeeze the sides of the thing. This is the most,
With the plastic.
some people have an advantage.
We need a read me for this.
You mean you didn't read
I
that?
know.
It's a wiki page.
All right.
How many tickets will we get open for this? I was at Warpstock and I couldn't get my,
Jeez.
You know someone's gonna do it now just to do it.
Yeah.
You want
Oh,
these
there we go.
back?
if you would be so kind as to put your lanyard and badge holder on the table, then we can reuse those for later Warpstock, and that helps defray cost as well. We're all about recycling here. We recycle everything. We recycle presenters, we recycle presentations, we recycle everything.
Attach this to one of our other
Particularly presentation.
Particularly presentations. I'm sure there's a Warp 3 presentation somewhere that we can recycle.
Is this one yours?
Yeah, that was the last one.
I learned from.
Who's got the hat?
It's
Oh, the hat's in the
Going
back.
around. It was going to where you were. It already skipped you. You better hurry.
Thank you.
I want the name, I want this backed up from the window. Yeah,
I was thinking that too already.
yeah.
Well,
Yep.
whichever one we don't pull, you'll be able to. Everyone will be able to pull back. Jeff,
Both or just one?
we need them both because we can identify who you are by DNA. So don't worry about it. Just
Keep coming up here, I guess, yeah.
that works. Now, did someone throw the whole badge holder into the hat for a slightly unfair advantage?
Several, yes.
Several. Okay.
It's like, you take it out.
Let's take care of this problem. Always a wise guy. Always a wise guy.
Lois, if there's no ticket.
Makes it easier to find if it's got plastic on it.
Or easier to avoid.
Andy, would you do the honors, please?
This is so exciting.
This is for
The cup.
the cup first.
Because we can't
Because
still use.
the hat's in use.
So we're getting a used hat.
Greg, come on up. There you go. That and that.
The hat goes to.
Bobby, you're the proud owner of a new hat.
Man, I was hoping for that cup.
You can always buy one. There's your hat, and there's your name
All
tag.
right, there you go.
And anyone else who wants to, you want yours
I
back?
want to get mine too.
We collect badges.
There you go.
I have a spare lanyard of 5 at home.
Oh, okay. Or 5.
Yeah,
Well, you don't want to run out.
I've got my old one when I went to Soap.
Okay, so
Also,
with
keeps the
that,
office interesting because every now and then I run into things, everything's all over the floor.
Warpstock 2019 is officially over. There is lunch, there's food in the back, there's all this OS2 software and books.
Are they gonna
In the well, yeah, right, the lunch in the break room. Didn't I say it was in the break room? There's lunch in
it's
the.
all dry now? It looked like they were mopping it.
Yeah.
I would imagine it's
I think
it's
it's
dry now.
Yeah.
So there's food. There's plenty of leftovers. Please eat. Enjoy, and we hope to hear from you and see you next year. Thanks.
Want this off?
Lewis?
Yeah, please.